Okay, so welcome everybody. It's Michelle Atlas here, and I am thrilled to be talking to you about a topic today that I'm absolutely passionate about, and that is self-sovereignty, true self-sovereignty. Um, and so I'm going to start our session today by, and please do say hi if you're with me. I'm going to start our session today with a beautiful quote that really kind of says it all. So I'm going to just pull that up here. This quote says, when Zusia, a Hasidic rabbi, was criticized for unorthodox behavior, he replied, in the next world, I will not be asked why in this life I was not Moses, but rather why I was not Zusia. And that's a Hasidic tale by someone who that was told by Yehuda Berg. And that's just one of the quotes that's most dear to my heart. So for many reasons. So many of us spend so much of our life um, modeling our definition of ourself on someone else's truth. So when it comes to true self-sovereignty, what I'm calling true self-sovereignty, what I'm talking about here is um, the right that we have to live as the authority in our own life. Okay, and this is something that is our birthright. Um, but that we come into this world like a sponge for so many different kinds of conditioning. So, in the womb and from like birth until about age 7 or 8, we receive all kinds of messaging from our peers, our faith communities, the energy of our mother, neighbors, friends, all sorts of people. And that messaging, we don't have filters when we're young like that. So everything goes right in, particularly from the pre-birth phase until we're 3 years old. But after about 7 or 8 years old, we we've internalized all of this messaging, and I'm just wondering if I'm live. I'm pausing a little bit here because I'm feeling a little concerned, and I'm going to just double check. So bear with me. Oh, there you are. Hi, great. Okay, were you able to see me a moment ago as well? Okay, wonderful. Okay, good. Okay, I couldn't see you for some reason. Okay, so good, Mary. So there may be other people that are on the Facebook page. I'm trying to stream into Facebook as well, and Facebook has a new setup, so it's just really throwing me for a loop right now. But anyway, I'll just continue. So I'm just going to pull up some notes and continue. But I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome. Several other people that were planning to attend emailed me, and various things have come up. So we'll just proceed onward and upward here, and there'll be a recording for everyone. So yeah, so um, we learn from a very early age what our family's definition of a good parent is, what our family's definition of a good partner is. We learn as we grow up, what it means to be a successful business person or a successful person altogether. And and again, as I said, there are no filters, particularly when we're really, really young. A tremendous amount of our identity and our self-concept is formed, by the time we're 3, just amazingly young. So what happens is that we function according to our conditioning um, until we don't know it. It becomes transparent, like a pair of glasses, that filters that we begin to see our life through, and that we begin to make all of our decisions through. And we usually reach a point somewhere in the ballpark of 40 years old. Usually, sometimes a little bit before, sometimes a little bit after, where we start to experience, what I'm going to call a current of dissatisfaction. We can't always put our finger on it, but there's some sort of a sense of knowing that there is something deeper, that there is something more meaningful to be experienced and expressed and created in your life. And um, almost every woman that I work with who comes into my private coaching packages enters that world because they have bumped into that longing. They've bumped into that deep gnawing feeling, and they're not willing to tolerate another year or another few months of not living their truth. So what happens though is that even in adulthood, even once we start that journey, we start that search for our deeper, more sovereign, autonomous, sort of essential free self, there are a multitude of opportunities for us to um, hand over our sovereignty, hand over our authority to someone else, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a best friend, whether it's a clergy person, whether it's our doctors, or whether it's a particular mentor or coach who has become somehow a guru in your eyes, and and that you decide must know better than you about what you need to be doing with your business and your life. And so we end up confused, right? And we don't really know it until, again, we bump into another level of dissatisfaction. Um, so we tend to unconsciously carry the belief that um, that our true self-expression and that our true experience of success would look like one of the icons, that either on TV or in a movie or in the virtual business space. Right? We actually think that if we're achieving some sort of level of success that looks something like theirs, that we must be successful, that maybe we've kind of arrived and that this is what it's really about. What happens is that we experience a crisis like the one that we're experiencing right now with COVID-19, and it knocks us for a loop. It knocks us, takes us down, knocks us out of our normal like nothing else. And so, what happens for people, what's happening for my clients, my peers, and myself certainly, is that when something, and I've actually referred to this extremely difficult situation that we're navigating as somewhat of a holy crisis. And I say that not in any way diminishing the incredible hardship or difficulties that certain people are experiencing, but because for people who have been sort of soul led, spirit driven most of their lives, who have really been sort of seeking that deeper truth, regardless of how much success they've had in finding it, those folks are experiencing almost like a trap door opening with this crisis. And suddenly, what's being revealed when that trapdoor opens is like this tender, glowing, vibrant, amazingly alive, vibrating version of you that's just been waiting, to be attended to and nurtured into expression. And so, what's happening for many of us is that with that door sort of opening, we're just beginning to like drop down, put our toe in those waters. We're just beginning to immerse in this new sort of current, this new sort of coherence of this exploration, this process of discovering what it means to really rest deeply down into ourselves, to align with that most essential version of ourselves that really has always been there, not something that we need to become. It's always been there. It's more about shedding the veils, shedding the layers that have kind of covered over through all of the striving and doing and pushing. And we're just beginning to kind of drop down in and swim in those waters, and we're beginning to really blossom into those waters and discover what it means to live from that place. And so this is a huge test. We're in a very pivotal spot right now, where just as we're relaxing into this new space, what I'm noticing is that there's kind of another wave of advice showing up in the virtual space, that has to do with quickly seizing the moment, and that only this will work and that won't work, and this kind of messaging that can really activate one into thinking that into that fear of missing out, right? And can activate one into prematurely taking action that feels an awful lot like the actions that have led to the kind of depletion and the kind of sort of low grade dissatisfaction that is all too familiar, became all too familiar to begin with, right? So here is what, so this is a huge test, right? It's a huge test because we have access. We've got this precious portal right now that's allowing us to access this beautiful, deeper experience of ourselves than we may have been able to access in the past with as much ease. And yet it's like testing us. Like, are we going to be able to really maintain? Are we going to be able to really hold the course, hold our own course, stay true to ourselves in the face of really just a tremendous amount of chaos on many different levels that we're facing into right now as well. So here's what self-sovereignty, when I talk about true self-sovereignty, I'm going to just get a lot more granular right now about what it means and what I believe it means for all of us at this point in time. So the first thing that it means, and this is huge, and this is also a part of resiliency psychology. This is not just something I'm conjuring up, but it is something that I've experienced. The first thing that it means is that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt what is possible for you to achieve, create, and experience independent of external circumstances. That you know that your capacity to continue growing and evolving your life and your business, to experience and create what is most dear to your heart, is not dependent upon external circumstances. A couple of examples. Your capacity to continue to grow and blossom your business is not dependent upon this economy. You can create your own economy. Economy is the sort of economy in its most simple, essential form is simply you providing some sort of service and somebody reimbursing you and reciprocating in the form of money for that particular service. Okay. And so you might need to take some risks. You might need to try something new. You might need to adjust your offers. You might need to chunk them down so that they're more palatable to folks who are deeply concerned about risk right now. You might need to create something new that you never thought was sellable, but it's always been in your heart. But your ability to keep flourishing as a successful entrepreneur is not dependent upon this economy. That's sort of true self-sovereignty principle number one. Okay. I'm going to share another example, a beautiful little story that one of my clients shared with me recently so that you can kind of bridge this idea of what self-sovereignty means on a business level with your personal life as well. So one of my clients told me recently that they had decided that it was really empowering and really important for them to be able to express their love to somebody who they knew would not reciprocate it and who they knew might even be uncomfortable with it. But they decided that it was their truth and that they were not going to constantly be twisting and turning and suppressing and censoring themselves, making decisions about what they were going to express based on what they thought was going to be okay with another person. So they freely expressed themselves and they just felt really good about that. So that's another example of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about true self-sovereignty. We look within first, we connect deeply with our own intuition, with our own inner guidance. We sense into where the true empowerment is for us. And we're able to operate in a sovereign, independent, autonomous way. So this does not mean that you don't take into account external circumstances. It does not mean that you turn a blind eye, and it does not mean that you don't regard others. That's not in any way, shape, or form what I'm saying. But what it means is that you start by pulling your senses inward. You start with self-trust. You start by looking at by sensing into where your yes is first. You notice your internal, and here's true self-sovereignty principle number 2 that I want to share with you today. You trust yourself deeply. What that means is that you notice your internal narrative. You notice where you might be habitually sabotaging yourself, where you might be habitually telling yourself something that's leading to low self-confidence or to being risk averse. Okay. And so you might come up with a beautiful mantra that reinforces your self-trust. There are a lot of different ways of working with this, and I won't have the opportunity to go into that level of depth with you in this live. But an example might be something like saying to yourself at those moments, I know what I know, right? So you want to be paying close attention to what you know, all right? And then you can begin to venture out and explore other people's perspectives, other people's ideas, and you can begin to open yourself to guidance because you've got a compass inside that you can measure all of the all the input by. Okay. True self-sovereignty principle number 3, you look first and last to your intuition to make decisions. So when it comes to making an actual decision, before you make a business decision, before you make a health decision, a relationship decision, again, you're checking in with yourself first. So this does not mean that you don't hire support. I personally just hired 2 different mentors over just the last few weeks as I entered these, deeper, more really just amazing waters of this crisis, and what it's opening up for me became so clear to me where I was landing within myself. I was able to pretty easily find the people that really matched where I'm at and that can support me in blossoming my new level of self-sovereignty. And so I'm not talking about not seeking support. I'm not talking about going it alone. You probably won't grow and you probably won't go anywhere if you choose to go that way. So this is not a time to not invest in yourself. But what I'm suggesting is that you pay very close attention to that deep current that has probably always been there, and to this incredible opportunity that this precious portal offers us to see and feel and know more deeply who we have always been and what we truly want to be bringing into our businesses and our lives now. So we've got that, just in the same way that people are talking about so much about this fact that with the ceasing, with the cessation of so much driving, and with the cessation of factories and so many businesses in operation, the skylines are clearing, right? So the pollution is disappearing. And so people in LA are able to see the sky for the first time in a very long time. And people in a variety of cities and countries are able to see their beautiful mountain ranges, crystal clear, in a way that they just had not been able to for a very, very long time. In that same way, um, there's a beautiful open field for us as entrepreneurs as well, that's open right now, that may not have felt open in quite the same way, for ever, actually, since I've been in business. So there's this open field, and you want to be really, really mindful as you proceed right now. And so when I sent out the article yesterday that said, don't act too fast, this is what I'm talking about. It's not don't act. It's not don't act, but it's about making sure that that beautiful, deeper sense of self that you have been able to access with greater ease during that time does not once again get left behind as you begin to create, as you begin to adjust your offers for your customers and your clients, as you begin to create new offers, as you begin to speak about what's most precious and meaningful in your own heart. Okay, so it's about being careful not to necessarily do with what you're being told is right. It's about paying a lot of attention to what's right for you. There's a distinction there. Okay, you don't need to spend as much time as perhaps you have in the first few years of your business frantically trying to figure out what's right, because 10 different people are telling you something different is right. All you need to do right now is drop down more and more deeply within and focus on what's right for you. That's your starting point. It grows from there, but that's your starting point. That's ground zero for you. So a lot of people ask, how do I know? How do I sort of discover all this stuff that you're talking about? There's a lot more. Again, there's a whole lot more that to this that we won't have time to go into in a live like this. But the advice that I would leave you with today that we can all do that's very powerful is you begin to sense into where the current of joy is flowing right now. It's always been there. So as I said a moment ago, this is a lot less about becoming something new. It's a lot less about learning. It's a lot less about, another massive learning curve. It's really a lot more about relaxing into what has always been. We're talking about your essential self. We're talking about your innate internal authority. We're talking, it was there when you were born, it was there before you were born. And again, life, conditioning, experiences, messaging, they become veils, also, subtle veils, one piled on top of the other, and they're not so subtle anymore. At a certain point in life, we can't see through them. But with this particular crisis, a lot of us are experiencing them sort of dropping away. There's just not as much energy, there to hold them up anymore, which is a beautiful thing. So you want to be dropping down within, and you want to be looking at where is the current of joy? Where is the current of inspiration flowing? Where is it sort of calling you? When do you feel most alive? When do you feel most lit up? Archetypally, we can kind of source the queen if we want to be talking and thinking about sort of a model that might be helpful to us at this time. And so the queen is represented by the disposition stability. And what that means is that she's rooted, and she's mature, and she's rooted in herself. She's also rooted in the earth, but she's rooted deeply within. And that incredible rooting gives her the empowers her with the ability to be unfluctuating based on whether somebody else approves of her or doesn't approve of her. She's still the queen. She's the queen when it's raining. She's the queen when it's sunny. She's the queen whether somebody, likes her or doesn't like her, whether she's in the favor of the people or not in the favor. And the queen also cares deeply, but she has boundaries. She doesn't overextend and she doesn't underextend. She's present for herself and for others with boundaries. So, and she's sovereign, right? If anybody's sovereign, it's the monarch. So I just want to kind of offer that as a little bit of a sort of an emotional and a visual reference for you to source. Um, I'm going to close now, and we can, for anybody who's with me, we can do a little share right after this as well. But I'm going to close with a guided meditation now to just help you access everything that we've talked about today a little bit more deeply. So why don't you just go ahead and close your eyes, and I'm going to do the same. And just begin to take a nice, beautiful, deep breath all the way down into your lower back and into your hips. And just let yourself really drop back and down onto whatever you're sitting on. Really lean into it. Allow yourself to be supported. And you can suspend for a moment any thinking that this live chat inspired, and questions. Just let yourself really drop down within into that beautiful, mysterious space where the diamonds are in the darkness. Knowing that you have all of the resources you could ever hope for within yourself already. Knowing that you are everything that you have ever wanted to be, that you're everything that you have ever found yourself striving to be. All of that already exists within you. Knowing that you have all of the strengths, all of the gifts, all of the skills, all of all of the guidance to live deeply into your truest self and to generate opportunities to impact others with your gifts. Knowing that no matter what external circumstances occur, they will most likely provide deeper and deeper opportunities for you to blossom. Continuing to breathe deeply all the way down into your lower back and your hips, making sure that your forehead is relaxed, that your jaw is relaxed. Making sure that your neck is relaxed, shaking out any tension from your shoulders, breathing all the way down. Not trying to change your breath, just noticing. And whenever you feel ready, ask yourself internally where the joy is, where are you called toward joy and inspiration right now? Where is that current? What does that feel like? What are some of the words or emotions that characterize that current of joy that exists within each of us for you? And once you connect with that, ask yourself again internally, what needs to stop? What do I need to stop doing? What needs to stop? What needs to cease in order for me to free up energy to move in that direction, to swim in that current that's of inspiration and joy? What do I need to stop doing? What needs to stop? You can also ask yourself now what you need, if there is anything that you need to start doing. It may be just that it may be that you simply need to stop doing something. So we're not loading you up with another to-do list here, but just sense into that for a moment. And when you're ready, you can just thank yourself for whatever was revealed. And acknowledge your appreciation for any deeper truth that came through. And take another beautiful, full, deep breath all the way down into your hips and your lower back. And you can open your eyes whenever you're ready. And I'm just going to, if I can, unmute you, Mary, for a second and just, okay, I don't think, for some reason, I think you'll have to unmute yourself. Yeah. And I usually at the end of each live like this go around with whoever is here, and there usually are more people, and it's all good, and just check in, if there's anything that wants to be shared or said, or given voice to.
For me, yeah, it was all helpful.
Oh, good.
All of the the three points. And also, yeah, things came up for me in the meditation, so that was really nice.
Yeah,
That
good.
was really nice.
Yeah, good, 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 great. Wonderful. Good. Well, thanks for being here. Anything else? Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
unless you want me to share specifically something, but
If you want to, feel free.
um,
Totally up to you.
like for the in the meditation for the starting, it kind of lined up with the points you had about for me, like stepping into myself more. For sure, I had a strong feeling about that. And for the stopping, it was actually um, to stop over analyzing and have more boundaries actually for specifically for certain things that I do right now.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
It
excellent,
just like
excellent.
came like that. So
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, it's the overanalyzing that we've gotten. We've kind of, um, I want to say gotten trained to think that this is how we're going to kind of move ourselves forward or be successful. That's exactly what needs to suspend right now. We're looking
yeah,
at being guided from a whole other place.
yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
So
Thanks
good
so
that I
much.
have it in the stop category.
Yes, yes, yes. Right. Wonderful, wonderful. Good. All right, my dear. Well, I know we'll be seeing each other real soon.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Very
yeah, yeah.
helpful. Very,
Hmm.
very helpful.
Good, good. My pleasure. Okay. Say goodbye to everybody for now and post comments, please post comments, post questions, anything you want to share with us once you watch this video. So, bye bye.